Between 2015 and 2020, these 5 mistakes cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars across my gyms. I almost went bankrupt in 2019 and then virtually lost everything in 2020. Today, my 4 gyms do almost $3 million a year while I work about 5 hours a week in my gyms. And what I'm going to do today is walk you through the 5 things that I would go back and change so that you don't have to make these same 5 mistakes. To start, let me share with you my journey of owning gyms. So in 2015, opened my first gym with my brother, and we grew that fairly successfully. Grew to about $30,000 a month in the first 10 months, and we thought it was quote unquote easy. So what did we do? We decided to open gym number 2, which was a big mistake. Not a mistake that I'm going to walk through today, but a big mistake. And if I were to go back in time, I probably wouldn't have opened multiple gyms. But we thought that was the secret to success. So we opened our second gym. Before that was even break even, because we had really big egos, we decided to open our third gym. Then in 2019, we went almost bankrupt trying to run these 3 gyms without using some of the right systems that I'm going to share with you today. And our first gym was floating our second and our third. So it was incredibly stressful because we were relying on a lot of the revenue coming in for gym 1, and any profits that we had there, we were using it to pay the bills in gym 2 and gym 3. And if we had a bad month, it was very stressful. We relied on a lot of paid in full sales to get through payroll, paying taxes, some months just getting by. Then in 2020, we know what happened then, and we virtually lost everything, especially being in Canada where restrictions were very strong, to say the least. Now, as we were going through that period of time, we were still able to not stay open, but keep our company running. And one of the mistakes that I'm going to share with you later was we said, hey, when we are able to reopen, we're going to do it differently. And I'm going to share what that is in a little bit later. And so we rebuilt our entire company with a different methodology and different systems. Now, due to the success that we had, I was invited to become the executive director of marketing for a fitness franchise. So I joined the team in 2021. Now, from there, I was able to step away from our 3 gyms. And so in 2022, our 3 gyms were doing about $2 million a year. I was working about 10 hours a week on the gyms. And then the rest of my time, I was the executive director of marketing for a fitness franchise where I was building systems for this franchise, for gym owners, coaching them, etc. Then in 2023, we bought a 4th gym, which was one that was doing okay, and it just needed some more better systems. And so we turned it around with systems. When we bought it, it was doing $17,000 a month. Now we do in the 40, sometimes even $50,000 a month in that gym. In 2025, I left my position at that franchise to start Elite Gym Systems because I wanted to create a program that was completely done for you for gym owners. Because in that position, I realized that gym owners, what they need on the front end is their marketing and their lead follow-up and sales just completely done for them. And so that's what we do within Elite Gym Systems. And now at the time of recording this video, Elite Gym Systems has been around for 10 months and we've already scaled it to $60,000 a month. So that is my journey, so you know who I am. And I would like to think that I have a little bit of credibility when talking about what we're going to go through. Now, here are the 5 mistakes that I wish I could go back and change. And we're going to go through each one of these in detail. Number 1 is not charging enough. Number 2 is focusing on quality over quantity. Number 4, focus on your experience. Number 3, focus on your experience. Number 4, remove cancerous team members and have a bench. And then number 5, build social media sooner. So let's dive in deep into each one of these, starting with not charging enough. So when we opened our first gym, we had no idea what we were doing. And we launched with $77 a month memberships. I think if I remember correctly, we had about 37 people or so join our gym for $77 a month. We thought we were doing real good. But no one told us what to do. And so that's what we did. And we lived there for a few months. Then we decided, you know what? Let's be crazy and increase our price to $97 a month. And so that's what we did. And we lived there for about a year. And we had about 100 members that eventually were paying $97 a month. Then finally we realized that this price isn't sustainable. And so we increased our price to $147 a month. So about after a year of being open, we increased to $147 per month. And we lived there for years. I don't remember how many years, but it was probably like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years where we charged $147 a month. And it still wasn't enough. But nobody teaches you as a young gym owner to make sure you charge enough to deliver the quality of the product that you want so that you can pay your team, etc. What you usually do as a gym owner is just look around, you look at all the other gyms, they're all paying something similar, so you just do the same. And little do you know is that all gyms are usually struggling because for whatever reason, that is just the industry. The problem is that within the gym space, there's actually 2 categories of gyms. We have the big box gyms where you go in and rent equipment. This is like your Planet Fitness, your YMCAs, your things like that, where you're paying $30, $40, $50 a month for access to machines. Then you have your more boutique or small fitness studios. That is like your F45s and Orange Theories and CrossFits and small boutique gyms like that. And within that space, it's a totally different business model and you need to charge a lot different. But the general public just sees gyms as gyms. And so that is why I think people, especially small gyms, they end up charging lower than they need to because they're trying to compete somewhat with these big box gyms. Now, finally, what we realized is we needed to increase our price to a suitable level. And so we shifted our price from $147 a month to $39 a week. Now, here's a couple wins on why that's really important. Number one is when you charge weekly, you actually gain an extra month. Because if you do the math, there's 52 weeks in a year. There's actually 13 weeks in a quarter. There's not 12. As humans, we always think of 1 month is 4 weeks. That's like a very natural thought to have. That would mean that in 3 months, there's 12 weeks. But in every quarter, there's actually 13 weeks. So there's 4 quarters in the year. There's actually a quote unquote bonus week in each quarter. And therefore, by charging weekly, you get to take advantage of that extra week. So you actually gain an entire month of revenue. Now, you don't have to charge weekly, but you either do have to charge weekly, bi-weekly, or every 4 weeks in order to take advantage of that extra week and get that extra month in annual revenue. So one thing that I would highly recommend is if you are charging monthly, then switch to charging weekly, bi-weekly, or every 4 weeks to gain that extra month. Now, finally, when we did this, we were more in the correct range of what we needed to in order to be successful. The problem was that we grandfathered all these people into membership rates. So we had people paying $77, $97, $147, and we had hundreds of members paying those rates. So now when we moved to $39 a week, those were only for new people. And that's another mistake that we made in the aspect of not charging enough, is that we grandfathered all these people in, and we've still done that to this day. Now we charge $49 to $75 a week, depending on the program. Now, here's what I always thought. I always thought as a young gym owner, it was fine to charge less because we would just get more people, right? I specifically remember having the thought when we opened our second gym, we had a crazy rent. Our rent in our first gym at the time was like $6,000 a month. Our rent in our second gym was like $11,000 or $12,000 a month. And I remember my brother and I being like, oh, that's no problem. We'll just get twice the people, not realizing how hard it is to get people, and it brings a whole host of issues. So if you're building your model on more people, which is going to be the mistake that we cover next, your churn is higher. You need more teammates. Your payroll goes up. There's a whole host of issues that come when you are just trying to bring in more people to make more revenue. And charging what you're worth is the easiest thing that you can do to be more profitable gym tomorrow. You could do this tomorrow, and it is by far the easiest thing you can do. And just look at the difference. If you had 150 members paying $147 a month, that's $22,000 a month in revenue. If you had 150 members paying $49 a week, which really isn't that much more, you're bringing in $31,000, almost $32,000 a month, which for most gym owners, that $10,000 is life-changing. That means they're paying their bills, they can pay themselves, and they can be very profitable in that range. And making sure you're charging enough is the easiest and most important thing that you can do within your business. Now, here's one thing to keep in mind. Every time we increased our prices, we never once experienced converting less people. And that's the big mistake or hesitation that I see with most gym owners. They think, oh, shoot, if I go from this price to this price, now all of a sudden I'm not going to sign up more people. There's obviously a point where that gets true. Right now we charge on average, if I were to convert our weekly into monthly, it's like $220 to $350 a month. If we were charging $700 a month for the exact same thing, we're not going to sign up as many people. So yes, there's a point where that starts to fall off, but we actually experienced the opposite. When we went from $39 a week to $49 a week, our conversions actually went up because it's not that much more in price, and people associate higher prices with better products. You probably do this yourself, whether it's the clothes you buy, your computer that you buy, something like that, your phone. We usually associate higher prices with better products, and there's nothing different within the gym space. So number one mistake, make sure you charge what you're worth, and do that as soon as you can within your business right out of the gates. Number two is quality over quantity. This is maybe the biggest thing that I wish I could have gone back and changed if I was starting all over again. So here's a little bit more of our story. So from 2015 to 2020, we ran cheap LBOs. That's how we got new members. So an LBO is like 14 days for $14, 28 days for $47, 21 days for $37, like something like that. That's what we did. So we'd run an LBO. Every month we would get 40 to 80 people in those LBOs. We would convert around 40% of them into members, and we'd gain 20 to 30 new members every single month. Seemed great. We thought it was great too. And in fact, we grew our 3 gyms. Our first gym, we grew to almost 600 members doing this. Our second gym, I think we got into the mid 200s. And then that third gym, we got into the mid 100s before shit hit the fan in 2020. We thought everything was great. But here's the problem. When we had 600 members in that first gym, our churn was about 7 to 12%, because when you bring people in on discounts, you bring in discount-minded people, and they're usually they don't stick around as long as when you focus on quantity, which you're going to cover here in a second. And because of that, we would lose 25 to 40 members in a month. I specifically can remember months where we would lose 40, sometimes even 50 members, and we needed to replace them. And so we built this engine where we would lose 20 to 40 members. We'd have to replace them. So we had to bring in 40 to 80 people on LBOs and convert them. And it was just like a nightmare. And it was so stressful because we needed to focus on this volume just to keep our business going. And it was really a nightmare. And now keep in mind, we were really good at it. I was good at marketing. My brother was good at delivering it. And so even though it was stressful, we were able to make it work. And in fact, in 2020, right before shit hit the fan, in one of our gyms, in our gym that we got up to 600 member, in February of 2020 alone, we had 200 trials in that gym in 1 month. And a lot of people would think, that's amazing. How did you do that? I remember sitting with our manager at the time in our office. And what we used to do is we used to take pictures of everybody and we'd put them on the wall. And there was 200 faces. And I remember saying to them, I said, how the hell are we supposed to deliver a good experience to all these people when we can't even learn their names? And that was like the biggest aha that I had. And I realized that there's gotta be a better way to grow your gym than just to try to focus on more people. And so that was the moment when I said, hey, we're going to focus on doing this better. March of 2020, we went into you know what, and we lived there for, I think, about 12 months. We were basically forced to be closed. But once we reopened, this is what we did. We said, all right, we're going to do this differently now. And so we still ran a 28-day program on the front end, but we increased the price. Rather than selling it for $47, we decided to sell it for $147. And we figured out how we would do that, and we were really good at it. Then we increased the price to $197, and we got really good at it. Then we increased the price to $247, and we got really good at it. Then we changed it from a 28-day program to a 6-week program, and we got good at it. Then we changed to a 12-week program, and this is where we live right now. Right now, for someone to join our gyms, we start them on a 12-week program for either $699 or $999, which is a stark difference from selling a 28-day program for $47 and just focusing on a lot of people. So now what we do is we sign up 15 to 20 people in these 12-week programs. We bring in better people who get better results. We get more cash. We need less people to do it. And it's a win-win across the board. When we started to do this, we started to bring in better clients that weren't discount minded. They were joining our gyms because they wanted a transformation. They wanted the result. They weren't just doing it because it was cheap. Then what happened was these clients, not only were they better, they stayed longer. We have no negativity in the gyms. And now our churn has dropped to about 5%. Actually, right now in Q1 of 2026, our gyms just had a churn in the quarter of less than 4%. So a stark difference from 7 to 12%. Now, there's a few other things that we've done to get this churn down, which I'm actually going to cover a little bit later. But nonetheless, we have a completely different business. Basically, the first 5 years, I always say, was like one way of growing gyms. And what we've lived in the last 5 years is completely different. And they're almost like two different business models. Now we have no stress. We're way more profitable. Our team we pay our team well. We have profits to be able to share, all because of this one thing. Now every month, we just focus on signing up 12 to 16 new members, and it's much more sustainable. We have very little stress in our gyms now compared to previously. So this is probably the biggest thing that if I could have gone back in time, I would start with this when I opened my gyms. And I've been lucky enough now with Elite Gym Systems, we've been able to launch gyms and we do it this way. And they're having so much more success than we did when we started. Now, number 3 is focus on the experience. This is one of these things that has helped us lower our churn. So our churn was way too high. I shared that it was 7 to 12%. And we tried all this extra stuff to always get our churn lower. Just the things that you hear on YouTube videos and reels. And we reached out to people when they didn't come, and we tried to hold these client events and just all this stuff. We spent a lot of time trying to do it, and nothing ever worked. And so finally, my brother and I put our egos aside a little bit, and we're like, we've got to get some help with this. And so what we did was we reached out to a couple gym owners that we knew, and they had really low churn. And we were kind of like, hey, we thought that our experience was good, right? When people came, we thought we delivered a good workout and all that stuff. We couldn't see the holes that we had. And we said, but our churn is this, and we're doing all this stuff, and just like nothing happens. And I remember talking to this one gym owner specifically, and he said, hey, when people come to your gym, do you use their names? And I said, yeah, we tell our coaches that's like part of our standards. When someone walks through the door, you welcome them within the first, I don't remember what it is, 10 seconds of them walking in. And he said, how many times have you trained on that? And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, oh, shit, never. We just told our team, hey, these are the things that you need to do to deliver a good experience. We never once trained on it. We just told our team once, hey, do these things. And we thought, because we were poor leaders, that would lead to a good experience, which it didn't. So my brother and I stepped back and realized that. And what we did was we actually built something that we called the 30-minute experience. And it's what we used. It's actually something that we built for the franchise that I worked for. And I also use something similar with gym owners in my program, Elite Gym Systems. And what it is we looked at the entire experience of what happens when someone comes to work out. So they show up to your building, they walk through your door, they do a warm-up, do a demo, they do a workout, usually do a cool down, and then people leave. And what we did is we broke that into phases. So we have what you do to need to prep for your workouts. Then we have how do you welcome people. Then we have how you do a warm-up and a demo. Then we have the workout. Then we have a cool down. Then what you do when people are leaving, and then what to do after your block of workouts. And what we've done is we've broken each one of those phases into the non-negotiables and the standards that you need to have. Basically, what we did was we turned the entire process into a system. Now what we can do is we can train our team, and this is exactly what we do. We train our team on each element of those systems. What do you need to do before workouts start? How do you welcome people? How do you do a warm-up and a demo? So now we have a document that's a system of how to deliver a good experience when someone comes for a workout, and we get to train on it every single month. Because of this is one of the big levers that we've pulled to get our churn down into the 3 and 4% range. And it took us 5 to 6 years to realize that our product wasn't good enough. And I remember being in a mastermind with Joey Coleman, and he wrote a book, How to Never Lose a Customer. And he said this thing, and I'll never forget it. He said, what would your business be like if every customer you ever got never left? And I was just like, we would be billionaires. Like, it would just be like incredible. And so since that moment, we've changed our perspective. When we started, we focused way too much on marketing and sales. And I think most businesses do this. They start something and they just want to grow. And so they just market and sell, and they don't understand the importance of your product, your service, and your experience. And had we done this from day one and realized how important the experience was, our business would have been way easier. Those first 5 to 6 years that were incredibly stressful would have been so much easier had we understood how much the experience matters. And if we focused more on that, then when you focus on marketing and selling and you bring people in and they don't leave, your growth is so much stronger and you get more referrals and it's way easier. And everything about business becomes easier when your product is good. Now, focusing on the experience in our gyms, it's our number one focus. And it's also my number one focus with Elite Gym Systems. I'm so proud of the fact that we've been able to grow to now we have about 55 gyms under management. We do about $60,000 a month. We've done that in 10 months. In these 10 months, I haven't ran one ad. My social media has sucked, to be honest. Overall, I've been doing a better job lately, but I haven't even tried to grow. I've grown entirely from referrals. And in the last 10 months, I've only had one person leave the program, and they've only kind of half left because they still use a lot of our back end systems. And so our attrition, our churn is basically zero because I told myself, because I recognize this, I said, if I ever get the chance to build another business, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to focus on the product and the experience before anything else. And that's exactly what I've done with Elite Gym Systems, which has gotten us to where we are. And so make sure within your gym, you focus on the experience. Your experience, even though you think it's good, I can probably guarantee you it's not good enough. And your churn tells you if it is. If your churn is less than 5%, I would say you're doing a great job. If your churn is over 5%, you're not, and it needs to get better. Number 4 is remove cancerous team members. So I'll share a little story. It was 2019, and we were doing a lot of things wrong, but one of them was that we were poor leaders, and we didn't know how to lead and manage a team or have hard conversations. And in our first gym, we had this one team member, and they were a major cancer. And what they would do is they were very, almost like two different people. They would be with Jared and I, my brother, they would be very cordial, very supportive, very on board, a good culture fit, etc. But when they went to the team, it was a completely different person and how bad things were. And we did a terrible job and all of this stuff. And then they would talk negatively to clients. And we knew this was happening, but we didn't really realize the degree. And we also, because we hadn't experienced anything to this degree and we were poor leaders, we didn't really know how to deal with it. We thought it would just go away. If we catered to them, then they would become happy and all this would just go away. Let me tell you that it didn't. And eventually, after keeping this person around for 18 months, when we should have got rid of them probably about 14 months earlier, when we finally got rid of them, we lost other team members because their negativity spread to the team. So then their team was mad at us. So basically our entire team left. We lost a bunch of clients and we almost lost that entire first gym. And what happened was because of that, it went down to me and 2 other coaches. And I ended up, and keep in mind, this was after about 5 years in business where I wasn't doing really any coaching at that time. And I ended up having to come back in, be the manager. And I had a young family. We had our first child who was a couple years old. We had our second who was now like a baby. She was in her kind of like 0 to 12 months. And during that time, I was working from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. every single day and coming in on Saturdays. And what I would do is I was coaching every class with these 2 other coaches, then doing all the marketing and the sales in that gym and everything else. And it almost ruined my marriage because of that. And that period of time sucked. And it all sucked because we were scared and didn't know how to have hard conversations. And we thought that we could keep this person around and everything would be great. Now, the problem, and this was one of our problems at the time, but I see this all the time. I have so many conversations with gym owners and they're like, I have this coach, but like I can't get rid of them because who's going to run our sessions? And that is one of the biggest issues. And because that's the case for most gym owners, they keep negative people on their team and it ends up hurting their culture and their other team members and their clients. And so what we eventually ended up doing was my brother built an internship program that looks like this. And this has been incredible. And if there's one thing you could take away from this video, this would be something you could implement in your gym. We built a 12-week internship program. So it's 12 weeks in length. And what it is, every quarter, we invite 1 to 3 members at each of our gyms to participate in our internship program. And the purpose is for them to become a certified coach. So they come in for 12 weeks. We pay for their NASM. We don't pay for anything else. We pay for them NASM. They do their NASM course and we teach them how to be a good coach. And they work alongside our coaches in our sessions. Now we set the expectation. This isn't to join our team. This is just, hey, if you've fallen in love with fitness, you're falling in love with what we do. At the end of this, you'll now be a certified coach. So if you ever want to do anything in fitness, you'll have the skill set and the certifications to do it. And what we have done is because of that, we build a bench of awesome talent. We build a bench of people that don't have their own stigma towards fitness, right? They just love what we've done. They've seen good results and they love what we do at our gyms. So we build these people and we get to coach them to our standards. A lot of other people in the fitness space, when we bring in other coaches or trainers, sometimes they have their own philosophies or thoughts or what they think is best, and it might not mold with exactly what you do, and that can become an issue. But with this, we get to bring them up to our standards. They don't know otherwise, and we get to train them the exact same way that fits well for us. Now, what we have is we have this bench of people. So if someone ever leaves to move on with their careers, or if we ever have to get rid of someone, we have zero stress because we have a bench of people that we can just pull on to now elevate to become a coach if they want to do. So now, because of that internship program and because of learning how much it sucks to keep someone on your team and the damage it can do, we have zero tolerance for not fitting into the culture or the expectations. And we'll help people. We'll give them a few coaching conversations, but if you don't meet the standards, we have zero tolerance. And now because of that, we have a really good culture in our gym. We have this bench. And for the fitness industry, we have extremely low turnover because of these two things: building an internship program, and now we get rid of cancerous team members extremely fast because of this mistake, and we saw the damage that it did. Finally, the fifth mistake I wish we could go back and change is starting social media sooner. And it might not seem like a big thing, but the direction of where we are in 2026 and where we're going nowadays, it's more important than ever. And to be honest with you, up until the end of 2024, I thought social media was a complete waste of time because we could just run ads and get clients, and it worked, and we did, and we did a good job at it. But then 2025 came around, and trust is now at one of its lowest point ever. And this happened in about 2025. And I noticed a massive shift in marketing and the results that we were getting. And paid ads still work, and they still work great, and it's still the best way to get clients, but it's way more expensive than it used to be. And how people use social media and interact with paid ads is different. Now, what people do is they use social media to see if they want to do business with you. So back in the day, you would just run a paid ad. People would opt in, they'd come into your funnel. It was just a volume thing. You just get a certain amount of people come in and you'd spit a certain amount of new clients out. And it's not really that anymore. It's more of a flywheel where people see your ads. Then what they do is they might go check you out on social. Then they might go read some Google reviews, and they're learning if they want to do business with you. Now, one of the reasons that I thought social media was dumb is because I had the wrong perception of how it should be used. I thought social media, should be used for getting leads, but it's not good at getting leads. It needs to be used for building trust. And because I thought you should use it to get leads, but you don't get leads from organic social media usually. So I thought this is really stupid. I didn't understand that social media is there to build trust and build brand with your audience. Now, like I said, now what people do in 2026 is they see your ads, they go check you out, and then they decide if they want to do business with you or maybe opt into whatever you're running on the front end. And in 2026, organic complements your ads because of that. They work together and it makes them perform better. So I see this very firsthand. If we're working with a gym that doesn't have good social media, their ads might be more expensive because people, they go and they look and they see, oh, I don't know what this gym or this place is like. People want to know, are you relevant? Are you cool? Do I fit in with your clients? Is this the place for me or is it not a place for me? And if you have that, then it allows your ads to perform better because people see that and then they take action. And so they complement each other. Now, the thing with social media, the best time to start was yesterday and the next best time to start is today. So I know for social media, for us, this was like a muscle that we had to build, but I really wish I could go back in time and start social media a lot sooner because our branding would be a lot stronger and you don't have to play catch up. But you need to get started. And so if you don't have a strong social media game, just start today and learn how to build it up. Don't try to be too much at once. If you're not posting at all, don't try to post once a day. Start with once a week and then twice a week and then 3 times a week and build your way up. But I can guarantee you that if you work on your social media and you have a good presence, that's only going to make your paid ads perform better, which ultimately is going to help your gym grow. So these are the 5 mistakes that I wish I could go back in time and adjust. And if I did, I know my journey of gym ownership would have been a heck of a lot easier. Now, if you want help, we help gym owners add 60 new clients and a minimum of $78,000 in new revenue annually with our N5 growth system. So if you want to see if working with us is a good fit for you, click the link in the description, schedule a call with me, and we'll see how we can help you out.